Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. We're just gonna give it a few seconds as people are entering from the waiting room. And we've got a really packed agenda tonight with 5 schools that have graciously joined us for the evening. So without too much ado, my name's Jennifer Andrews. I'm one of the school counselors at Holliston High School, and we have Mary Beth Mont, who is another one of the school counselors at Holliston High School. And we have with us Hobart William Smith, University of Richmond, Dickinson, Framingham State, and St. Anselm's College. So I will turn it over to them. We are going to kick it off with Kate Beyer from Hobart William Smith.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this panel. My name is Kate Beyer. I am an Associate Director of Admission for Hobart and William Smith Colleges. I'm actually regionally based, so I live down the road from you in Framingham, and the whole point of that is to be accessible to my students and families, so please keep that in mind if you end up being interested in HWS. Happy to meet locally and chat more about the school. We are a small liberal arts college located in upstate New York in the lovely town of Geneva, which is in the Finger Lakes region. So from this area, from Framingham, it's about a 5-hour drive, 90 the whole way. And we are about equidistant from Ithaca, Syracuse, and Rochester. So we're kind of right in the middle of there if you're trying to figure out where we are in upstate New York. But it's a beautiful area to be in. We are just under 1,700 students. So it's an average class size of 16, a 9-to-1 student faculty ratio, but we are spread out on over 320 acres. So I think students are pleasantly surprised when they visit us that it's the ratios and the class sizes they want in that feel of small liberal arts, but it doesn't feel too small. We embrace the outdoors where we are. We are right on Seneca Lake. We have a lot of green space. The Finger Lakes is great for things outside like hiking and biking and trails and running and things like that. Because we are liberal arts, everyone comes in undecided. So you do not apply for a specific school or program with us. We have over 80 programs and everyone comes in and explores the curriculum and you declare your sophomore year. And there's a really robust advising system to help our students figure that out because plenty of our students come in undecided and that's totally fine. And through their advisors and mentors, they find their path and figure out what is the best fit for them. A couple of things I'd say that we're known for, we don't have gen ed requirements or a core curriculum. So we have something called the 8-goal system. So it's truly liberal arts, truly flexible, 8 skills that we want you to achieve and accomplish by the time you graduate, but lots of different experiences and classes that can fulfill those. So no 2 students complete those goals the same way. It's truly individualized. And you work with your advisor to figure out based on you and your interest, what's a good fit for that. We are also known for community service. We have 100% participation in community service. So if that's something of importance to you, we're a great school for that. And also study abroad. 60% of our students study abroad. We have 50 programs in 32 countries. So a little bit of something for everyone. They're typically semester long, but we're a big school that goes abroad. So I think we're going to get into some of the admissions process and testing and all that stuff. So I'll save that for now. But just quickly, we're both need-based and merit-based for financial aid. And just as far as like what kind of students a good fit for us or what we're looking for, I would say definitely someone who's open-minded and like embracing like that kind of open curriculum, exploring the 8 goals, being okay, being undecided, and declaring a little bit later on because things like study abroad are really big for us, also being okay, like venturing out a little bit, right? Embracing a new culture, a new area. Definitely like work hard, play hard environment, but definitely would call us a collaborative academic environment. So we want our students to work together and with our faculty and be true peers for each other. And just a place where you like want to be fun and engaged. Like we're a small community, so we're looking for students that are going to contribute in a lot of different ways. Academically, yes, be able to meet the criteria, but we're also reading to see what kind of community member and person you're going to be on campus. So I think I'm passing it over to Julie.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Julie DuPont. I'm a senior assistant director at the University of Richmond in Richmond, Virginia. We are just 10 to 15 minutes from downtown Richmond, depending on what part of the city you're going to. So we have our own campus space, but then you also have access to everything a metropolitan area has to offer you as well. So you have the best of both worlds in that sense. I won't get too much into the liberal arts specifics. Thanks, Kate, for going into some of that already. Since we are a liberal arts institution, you also come in undecided here. You're not applying into any specific major. We do have 3 undergraduate schools. So we have arts and sciences, a school of leadership, and a school of business. But again, everyone's coming into the School of Arts and Sciences as an undeclared major before you venture in to any of the other schools if that's something that you wish to do. Like Kate was talking about, because we are a smaller school, we have about 3,200 undergraduate students. Those individualized relationships are really important. So our class size average is also 16 students. Our student faculty ratio is 8-to-1. So you're really going to find students getting individualized meals with professors, or there are professors that will invite their classes over to their homes for dinner and have class discussions there. So there's a lot of that individualized attention and really getting to know professors to build that bond while you're a student, but then you have that network while you're there and then beyond after graduation as well. One thing I do want to note that I think Richmond does really well beyond all of the liberal arts tenants that you hear at some similar liberal arts institutions is that we're fortunate enough to have the financial resources of a large university, but because we have a smaller student body, each student has a larger share of each of those resources. So just to give you a few of those examples, we have something called the Richmond Guarantee, which guarantees up to $5,000 to every single undergraduate student to help with a summer internship or research position. So it's for those underpaid or unpaid internships and research positions to help you have access to those opportunities if you aren't making any money through those opportunities. 2/3 of our students do go abroad. We offer an $1,000 travel allowance to students going abroad for their plane ticket to and from their new home country or for cultural excursions within their new home country. Our chaplaincy does trips free of charge to students. Our living and learning programs travel as part of their experience, again, free of charge to students. These are just a few examples of some of the types of things we can offer. Our career services office also does networking trips that are, again, free of charge to students. So you combine all of these resources, again, with that individualized attention, and it really prepares and sets up students very well to succeed, both while they're at Richmond, but also to help them after graduation as well. And so I think that really helps set us apart from a lot of institutions. And I know our students appreciate the opportunities that they're afforded while they're with us. So I'm going to stop there. I'm sure there's way more to cover, but I think Kate at Dickinson is next. So I'll pass it off to you.
Thanks, Julie. Hi, everybody. My name is Kate Gurton. I'm the Director of Northeast Recruitment for Dickinson College. Dickinson is located in South Central Pennsylvania in a town called Carlisle. But I, like Kate Byer, I'm based regionally. I live here in Massachusetts as well. And so it allows me to really get to know schools and students well in this process. And so again, look forward to meeting with you all a little bit closer to home. But just to kind of start with location, Dickinson, like Hobart and William Smith and University of Richmond, we also are a small liberal arts college. So thank you to Julie and Kate for talking a bit about what that means. And I think Dickinson's great for every reason a small liberal arts college is great, but I'll certainly hone in on the things that I think make us a bit distinctive. In terms of our location, though, we are this beautiful limestone brick building campus located in Carlisle, which is a great college town. So walking distance to the campus, there's over 35 restaurants, there's coffee shops and ice cream places and small businesses.
But you get outside the downtown, it does become pretty rural pretty quickly. That's central Pennsylvania. But one thing a lot of people don't realize is the Appalachian Trail actually runs right through Carlisle. So if you're into the outdoors, into hiking, anything like that, great opportunity, beautiful part of the country to do that. But also we're only a half an hour from Harrisburg, the capital of Pennsylvania, smaller scale city than many of our neighboring cities, but still a city, and you can get anywhere from Harrisburg. There's an airport and a train station, one round trip flight from Logan every single day, and I often do that flight, and then it's a 25-minute shuttle ride to campus, so really easy to get down and back. About 2 hours from Philadelphia, 2 hours from Washington, D.C., just thinking of those bigger cities. We are also a college where students come in undeclared, so every single student comes in undeclared, and about 2/3 of our students remain that way until they're sophomores. It's really intentional advising that's heavily rooted in students' authentic interests to help guide and then create a path for you. Everybody is guaranteed an internship or research opportunity if they want one, and some programs do actually require them, but that is certainly part of our learning. And it's a really connected community as well at Dickinson. I would say, we are Division III in athletics, a really competitive athletic conference. We're in the Centennial Conference. Certainly there's an athletic vibe to the community, but there's also really strong arts at Dickinson: dance, theater, music, visual arts, which with really amazing extracurricular opportunities there, over 110 student-run clubs and organizations. Students individually are doing a lot of things. That's the Dickinson student, but also supporting each other. Students turn out for games as they turn out for theater productions and everything in between. But when I think about a Dickinson student, a few words come to mind, and I think often the students attracted to Dickinson are attracted to what makes us who we are. Our values and the things that we care about tend to be the things that our students tend to care about as well. First of all, I think about a student at Dickinson being incredibly collaborative, a student who wants a rigorous academic environment, but does not want that competitive, cutthroat academic environment. They want a place where they can work with and support their peers. They want to uplift and tout the successes of their peers and work really collaborative with their faculty as well. And that translates to the social community too, as I mentioned. Everybody lives on campus and everybody's doing a lot of things and supporting each other in many different ways. We are a very global institution. We are most well known for our approach to global education. We were from our start, focused in an education for students who are going to go on and be global citizens in the world. And so I tend to think, working with students, we tend to attract a lot of students who realize there's a bigger world out there than where they come from and want to be part of a community full of differences and be able to learn from every voice in the classroom, because we all do come with different backgrounds, perspectives, experiences, beliefs, identities, upbringings, all of those things. But also, we are really well known for our study abroad programs as well. Dickinson has 15 sites around the world, and then many partner programs where financial aid and scholarships do travel with our students, so making it incredibly accessible for everybody. We're also a carbon neutral campus, 8th college in the country to meet carbon neutrality. Sustainability is a huge core value and something certainly students can study, but I'd say large majority of students I work with aren't looking to study it, but they certainly care about it and are really excited to be part of a community doing what we're doing on a daily basis. And again, are surrounded by a lot of really like-minded people in that way. And then lastly, just a campus community of students who understand the importance of the social side of sustainability. How do we treat one another? How do we have hard conversations and do it in effective ways? That translates to social justice work and activism and community service and service learning. All those things mean something to our students in the big scheme of thinking about ourselves as global citizens. And when I think about our students, I think about it as a campus of really nice people. And it doesn't surprise me when I think about what we care about. If students are choosing us because they care about one or all of those things too, I think organically we create that type of campus community. So I will stop there and I'm going to pass things off to Erica at Framingham State.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. So I'm representing Framingham State, which, as you probably know, is your neighbor. We're about 20 minutes from the Holliston area. Our main campus and only campus is located in Framingham, Massachusetts. Something that we're well known for is education. And the reason is that we are actually the very first public teachers college in the entire country. So we're the first public school, or one of the first public schools, to ever professionally train teachers. And so that's something that's still part of our mission today. We still have a college of education. We're still well known for our education program, but things have changed in the 180 years or so that we've been around. We have about 35 different bachelor's degree programs, and what we're really focusing on are programs that students are looking for based on the interests that they share with us, but also as a public institution, what does the Commonwealth of Massachusetts need in terms of its workforce? So some more unique programs that we offer that you might not find in a number of other schools: American Sign Language, food science, food and nutrition, fashion design, fashion merchandising, and then a brand new major, because students told us they wanted it, sports management. So those are just a few examples of what we're able to offer our students. In terms of our in terms of our student population, we serve about 3,000 undergraduate students and about 1,000 graduate students at Framingham State. In terms of what we're able to support or offer for support and services for our students is really outside the classroom. I know a number of schools have mentioned this. You're going to find this at a lot of schools in a variety of options: study abroad. So we do encourage our students to study abroad. We do have affordable options for students. You can use your financial aid to go abroad, and then we also have specific scholarships for students to study abroad. We also provide a number of academic support options, which is one of the questions that we'll answer later in detail. But yes, we do provide academic support, academic tutoring. We want to make sure that our students are successful, in addition to career development, making sure our students are gaining internships and full-time jobs when they graduate. Something that we're really proud of at Framingham State is that 90% of our students report back within the first 6 months of graduation that they're either working full-time or they are in graduate school. Something else that we do in terms of making a commitment to our students is that when students graduate from Framingham State, they're part of what we quote unquote call our family. It's a play on the word Framingham, as well as the Rams, which is our mascot. So you're part of the family for life. And what that really means is that, yes, we're going to support you during your 4 years at Framingham, but let's say you graduate, it's been about 3 years, you're maybe thinking about grad school, or maybe you want to change careers. Where do you go for that support? You can come back to Framingham State and work with a career counselor free of charge, because again, once you're part of our alumni network, we're there to support you. In terms of athletics, we are Division III for athletics. So there's a number of ways that we can help you reach out to the coaches. As a Division III school, I do want to mention that we don't offer athletic scholarships. We're not able to in terms of NCAA regulations. However, we do still recruit student athletes into our programs. And we did just establish a women's ice hockey team this past year that we're really looking forward to their new season next year. In terms of your next steps, again, because we're so close to you, I would encourage you to visit campus. Sometimes students think that they know our campus well because they are so close or they have a friend that goes there. But I do want to encourage you to schedule a campus tour. We offer general campus tours as well as custom visits. So you can even create a custom visit if you want to meet with financial aid, you want to meet with admissions, or maybe you want to visit a classroom or meet with some of our athletic coaches. We're able to customize your visit to what your needs are. And again, being so close to the Holliston community, we'd love to have you take a campus tour sooner rather than later. And then last but certainly not least, I'll be passing it off to St. Anselm.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so my name is Mary Lou McCambley. I am an Associate Director of Admission at St. Anselm College. I'm also the Coordinator of Diversity and International Recruitment. So I have a couple of hats that I wear in the office. I do have this territory as my travel territory. And so I've been to Holliston in the past with students. So I am very familiar with the area. St. Anselm College is around an hour and 15 minutes away from the area, so not too far for students to come onto campus and take a tour. It's an easy drive going, I guess, northeast of Holliston. So I definitely recommend coming and visiting. So a few things about St. Anselm College. We are a small liberal arts Benedictine Catholic college. So it seems like the only Catholic college in this group. Benedictines are known for their hospitality. So you'll see that on campus. It's a pretty warm and welcoming community on our campus. Our students really get to know each other pretty well, along with our professors and our monks. So one of the things that does make us unique is that we have Benedictine monks. They reside on campus. They take a vow of stability, so they're there until they pass away, and they reside in the monastery that's behind the chapel. So students will get to know them. They are faculty members and administrators, and they are a great group of men to kind of get to know during your 4 years because of that vow of stability. So they're there. And so if students leave 10 years later, they come back. Faculty and staff have kind of turned over and are no longer working there, but you will see monks from your time there. And so a lot of our students kind of enjoy that aspect of the school. So some facts and figures about our school. We are a little under 2,000 students on campus. Classroom sizes are around 18, and it's an 11-to-1 student-teacher ratio. We're about 10 minutes outside of Manchester, New Hampshire, which is the largest city in New Hampshire. It's the most diverse city as well. And so the southern part of New Hampshire is pretty much the active part of the state. There's a lot going on. So we're about an hour from Boston. We're about 40 minutes from the coast. So students go to the beach. And we're less than an hour or two away from the largest mountains in New Hampshire to ski. So students who like to ski enjoy coming to St. Anselm College, being a part of the outdoor club, and getting that opportunity. We have about 60 majors on campus and around 60 minors. We are liberal arts, but our students can come in with a major if they'd like, or the largest actually population of students coming in are students that are undecided. So we say that's our biggest major. The one major that students aren't able to do that with, which is our only direct entry program, is nursing. So we're pretty well known in the area for our nursing program. We typically have about 100% of the students that pass that NCLEX exam the first time around. And so we have a solid reputation of students that are going through the nursing program and are out there in the workforce immediately after they graduate. We are actually building a new facility for that. So we will eventually be, or actually in the process of being the School of Nursing and Health Sciences. So that's all going to be integrated under one roof. And students will be able to have access, along with nursing, with the health sciences, we'll have access to athletic training, PT, OT, PA. So there's a lot of additional programs that are added to our health sciences. Some of our newer majors that seem to be popular are data analytics, cyber criminology. We have dance. Actually, dance is our newest major, and so that's pretty exciting for us. We have the Aaron Tolson Institute of Dance. So now that's a major program on our campus. So those are things for our students to kind of look at. I'm a visual person. I would have put the slideshow up. I'm trying to go through it right now, but again, a lot that our students can do with their majors. We have students that major, and we have students that major and minor in subject areas. We have double majors. So there's a lot of flexibility in the schedule that you have on campus, so that you're not just learning one major and that's it throughout your 4 years. You're getting a lot of different experiences under your belt, so that when you do go out into the workforce, you are really prepared to be in the industry that you want to be in. We do have study abroad as well, along with the other schools. Our study abroad can go one of two ways. Either you can do our classroom abroad, which is in Tuscany, Italy. We have a class there now. It usually consists of about 35 students that go over there with 2 professors. Or you can choose a number of different countries that we have worked with in the past, and students will go there and study in the subject area that they want to study in. So students can choose to do that as well. We're also, for athletics, an NCAA Division II program, and we do have scholarships available for that, depending on the sport that students are choosing to participate in. And we just added track and field. So we are in the process of developing a track and field facility that's going to actually do groundbreaking at the end of June, and hopefully have that available to students in the fall. But if you're interested in track and field, definitely reach out to the coach. I do encourage all families to reach out to coaches when they are talking to them about the recruitment process, because students do have to typically be recruited onto the sport that they are interested in. We'll go over application requirements a little bit later on in terms of when to apply, but financial aid is very important for families. We all know that. And so we do offer need-based grants and scholarships and non-need-based awards. So that's merit scholarships. So I do encourage all students or all families to complete the FAFSA document, because along with federal aid, we also have institutional aid. 100% of our students do receive need-based aid. So that's why I encourage families to fill out FAFSA, even though they think they might not qualify for federal aid, you may qualify for institutional aid. So it's really important that you complete that document so that you can be considered for any aid that we have available on our campus. Merit scholarships can be anywhere from let me double check, 20,000 to 32,000 a year, and they're renewable every year as long as you maintain the GPA that's attached to that. We do keep it pretty reasonable. The GPA for the $20,000 scholarship is a 2.0, and the GPA for the $32,000 scholarship is a 2.5. So we do want students to hold on to that for all 4 years. We understand that there are times when things might get difficult, and so we want to make sure that that's part of your package and that families aren't having to pick up that cost if you lose that merit aid. So that's really important, and we do ask students, again, asking students to complete the financial aid document. And I believe that's all I have right now. We're going to go on to some other questions for the
Yes.
families.
Thank you so much to all of you. Very efficient. So we're going to go back around in the same order. First, to talk about testing policies, any changes that you anticipate, and then second, to go through an overview of the application process for your particular institution, if there are any special things to highlight. And then after you go through those things, I'll pop back on for the individual questions.
Okay, I think I'm kicking it off again. Okay, so test policy, we are test optional. We've actually been test optional since 2006, so this was not anything new for us. COVID did not change that process for us. So what that means is we don't use test scores comparatively. We use them in the context of the whole application. It's a holistic review, which we will go over. Wait, are we separating those? Sorry.
We were going to, but you're
okay, perfect. Yeah. So we will go over that. But a couple of notes about being test optional. So one, it's not, test scores are not required for any merit scholarships. We used to do that. That was a change through COVID. So you'll still be considered for merit without test scores. We do allow self-reported test scores. And we do super score, which means if you take several versions of the test, we'll take your highest scores from the different rounds and put them together. And I think that's about it.
At Richmond, we've been test optional since COVID. A decision hasn't been made yet for next cycle, but I anticipate that'll be made within the next month or month and a half. We announce it as soon as it has been made. The board ultimately makes that decision. So higher than me, higher than my pay grade. And as far as deadlines go, which we'll get into specifics about deadlines later, but Richmond has every deadline but rolling. The only special note I would say is that for our merit-based scholarships, you do need to apply by December 1st to be considered for our full tuition, room and board scholarship. It doesn't matter which deadline you're applying under, as long as you hit submit by December 1st, you're automatically putting yourself in the running for our biggest scholarship. So that's of note for us. Other than that, I think that covers it. We are also holistic, so I don't think we're any different in that sense.
We are also test optional, have been since the mid-90s at Dickinson. And we actually, during 3 years for COVID, we did a pilot program of being test free. So for 3 years, we didn't look at test scores for anybody. We knew how to do it without them. And we've brought test optional back this cycle because we didn't want to say no to students who wanted to show us testing. But I'll be honest, if it's not there, we're not even thinking about it. And so really, truly up to you if you want to send those to us. Does not penalize in any way to be a non-submitter.
Framingham State, we are test optional. There's been no talk of changing that at all. So again, just reiterating that test optional means a student would tell us on their application if they want to submit their test scores or not. If you don't submit them, you'll still be considered for admission. You'll still be considered for merit scholarships. We really don't use test scores for anything at this point. Just keep in mind, though, that Framingham State's admission standards are set by the Department of Higher Education in Massachusetts. Actually, all the state universities in Massachusetts have our admission standards set by what we call the DHE. Technically, our test optional policy is a pilot program, but that pilot program's been going on for about 5 or 6 years now. And I don't think that they will come down and change that anytime soon. We've actually seen quite a bit of success in terms of removing barriers for students applying to college and gaining admission by removing the test score requirement. And we see at the university that our students' success at Framingham State is connected to their high school GPA rather than test scores. So I really don't see that happening anytime in the near or far future.
We are test optional like everyone else. We have in our office what's called a do no harm policy. So for a student who's at home and they're like, okay, your average test scores, because we do have an average for test scores, which is probably around a 1280. If you're at home thinking, well, I had a 1210, should I send them in? Should I not send them in? We're taking that out of the equation. Send those scores in on our end. If it hurts your application, we will take it out. If it helps your application, we will leave it in. So that's good for merit aid. You know, your GPA might not be as great as your test scores are, and so you may actually get more merit aid because your test scores were so good. So that's where we're saying to families or to students to not stress out about that whole test optional part. Just submit them, and then on our end we will determine whether it hurts you or helps you. We're there to help the students, so we're going to take it out if it hurts you.
Awesome. Quick question on testing that I forgot to highlight up front. With the SAT now going fully digital, are students able to super score between perhaps paper tests that they already took and the digital exam? If anyone sees that as an issue, you can pop up, but if you just nod, then awesome. All right, so super scores will go across methods of taking the test. Fantastic. All right, back around with overview of the application review process, highlights of anything unique or different with your institution. Kicking it off again with Kate Byer.
All right. I think a lot of us have already mentioned holistic, so I think it's going to be a similar review process. So I feel bad I'm stealing everyone's thunder. So holistic review means we're looking at all the components of your application. And I think a lot of us would agree academics are certainly important. What's on your transcript is important, how you're doing, especially closest to college, right? Junior and senior years in particular. So here's a little shout out that senior grades count and the rigor of your senior year classes count. So I'll just echo that because I'm sure your counselors are also telling you that and your families. So we want to make sure you're able to do the work, right? And that you're going to be successful. But we're not looking for reasons not to admit you, right? We all say we're admitters, right? We're admissions offices. So we're looking at all the different components, as I already mentioned, and I think it's probably similar. When you're a smaller community, you're really looking for all the ways, right, that students are going to contribute, all the ways that they're going to be involved. So we're looking for things like leadership and community service. And I'd say it's not the number of activities, right, but like the depth or quality, or we're looking for themes, things that you're passionate about. So I think people get hung up on like the activities list and having to like put 12 things on it. And I think for us, it's more about the consistency and seeing something that you really care about. I will quickly say that a lot of schools have moved away from interviewing. We still do interviews and we still welcome them. And as I mentioned, I live down the road from you. So you're welcome to do an interview if you happen to go out to campus. We're already interviewing juniors if you're ready to do that. But you have until you submit your application to do your interview. So some students are ready earlier, some later, but I'm happy to set up a local interview. We do them virtually, we do them on campus. So a lot of different options for that. And I just say, I think that's important because we think you're more than your Common App and it doesn't always tell us all of the information. So having a conversation with you one-on-one and getting to know you a little bit better and what you might bring to our community is really important. But we're all different, right? As I think you're going to hear tonight. So I think it's important to just check what the admission requirements are, if schools offer them or not. The other thing I'll just quickly highlight is that We do have a couple of separate applications for some of our merit scholarships in the fine and performing arts. So for all of the academic or for service or leadership scholarships, we will consider based on your application. But if you want to apply for something in art and architecture, music, dance, theater, am I missing one? Then they all have to have a separate application. And there's a part on our website where you can find that. And it's a separate question on our Common App that says, do you want to be considered for an art scholarship?
Yeah, I want to emphasize one thing that Kate said, especially because you guys are juniors, but you know, yes, we want to see all components of your application to get to know you as both a student and as a person, but definitely your transcript, I would say, is the bread and butter of your application because that's close to 4 years of hard work, right? And so, she mentioned rigor of your schedule. Keep that in mind when you're picking out courses for senior year. Of course, do what's appropriate for you. Don't overextend yourself. But we're definitely looking at that. At Richmond, we recalculate every applicant's GPA. So we're putting everyone on a 4.0 scale and we're removing the weight from courses. Everyone panics when I say that. That doesn't mean that we're not looking at the rigor of your schedule. We do that because not all schools offer AP or IB or dual enrollment. Some schools might not offer that, but they have equivalents to that. So it's just a way to kind of standardize everything, but we're still looking at, everyone's course rigor for sure. But yeah, we want to see students who are engaged and involved because that means that you're going to be engaged and involved on our campus, even if it's not in the things that you're doing now in high school, which is totally fine. You're going to college to explore new things, but we want you to be active on our campus. Definitely. I do want to go back to testing because I know I neglected to say this, but we extend merit scholarship offers to students who submit testing and students that don't submit testing. So don't overthink that side of things. We frankly do not have time to think about why you may or may not have submitted a test score. To put it bluntly, we don't care why you may or may not have submitted a test score because it's totally your prerogative. And so again, please don't overanalyze that side of things. I mentioned our Richmond Scholars deadline, and I think there was one other thing I had meant to mention here, but I'm forgetting at this point. So I will hand it over, I think. Oh, interviews. We don't require interviews, but we do informational interviews for you. So if you want to get to know more about Richmond, you can, but we don't have evaluative interviews that we use as part of your application process.
Yeah, very similar at Dickinson to how my colleagues have just spoken about their processes, but I would say we offer deadlines around early decision 1, early decision 2, and regular decision. And so 2 opportunities for students to raise their hand and say Dickinson is a first choice. For students applying early decision, you're evaluated amongst a much smaller pool of candidates. And certainly though a big decision and here to be a resource and a connector for students who are thinking about applying ED or ED2. Large majority of our pool applies regular decision. I would just mention that we are just really evaluating applicants, thinking about a couple of things. A, can they do the work? Are they going to be successful? And are they going to be happy here? And really getting to know you as part of this. As part of that, we too offer interviews. They're optional. We care about getting to know you in this process, helping you learn more about us to help you make an informed decision to apply, and making sure that you feel like it is a good match for you. And I would also just give a word of advice around activities. Certainly there are times, I think Kate mentioned before, quality over quantity, or someone on the panel did. And I just really think about the things that you do and the why behind why you do them, and share with us the things that you get most excited to participate in, that you love the most, that you feel most connected to. And there is a little bit of room to write about each of those things. Not a lot of room, but a little bit of room. Help us understand a little bit of that why, because again, is a window into you and what you'll bring to our communities. But certainly we're evaluating students within the context of the schools they attend. We don't recalculate a GPA because every single high school out there is different, but we are taking a look at what your grades are, how you've challenged yourself in context of what your school's curriculum and what they offer. We know every school is different in terms of rigor and curriculum and assessment and how schools dealt with COVID. I mean, all of these things are different school to school. And so really evaluating students in context of where they come from is how we do things at Dickinson.
So at Framingham State, again, being a public institution, we're really trying to admit as many students as possible. So I'll just start by saying our acceptance rate is 80%. So we are doing everything we can to admit students. That's part of our mission. That's what our president wants to continue to do. So really the number one thing that we're trying to do is just make sure that you can do the college level coursework at a 4-year institution. So basically we're looking for your core academic classes each year of high school: English, math, science, social science, a couple of years of a foreign language. Students who have a language-based learning difference are waived from the foreign language requirement. We do recalculate GPA. We use a 4-point scale, and we do weight for honors, AP, dual enrollment classes. We're required to recalculate a GPA by the Department of Higher Education in Massachusetts, and we actually use the standard that they've set. They do have a form on their website that allows you to recalculate your own GPA if you'd like to do the job of admissions counselor. We are looking at your extracurriculars in terms of who you are as a student. When that really comes into play, though, is really when we're looking for students for the honors program. So while we do admit 80% of our students that apply, we also have an honors program. And so those requirements are a little bit more academically rigorous. We are looking for students to not just have the GPA requirements, which are about a 3.7 on that 4-point weighted scale, but to also have honors AP courses if they were available to you, and to really make sure that you're pushing yourself and going beyond just the minimum academic requirements. Something that I will mention that's a little bit unique about Framingham State's review process in terms of the information we collect that's required is we don't require an essay and we don't require letters of recommendation. We consider those optional items. So if you are working on your essay, if you have a letter of recommendation, we encourage you to submit it because we will read that information and it can be helpful at times to understand who you are as a person, to also place you in context of your high school as well as the greater applicant pool. But they are not required to be considered for admission. The only requirements we have are the application, your high school transcript, and then we do have an application fee waiver, which you can easily get waived either by visiting campus, just taking a tour, emailing me and just asking me for one, because we're pretty nice, or having your guidance counselor reach out to us, and we're able to waive it as well. But that's pretty much it in terms of our admission standards, but we do have some similarities, but as you can see, some differences about how we're reviewing and considering students.
I would say that St. Anselm College is similar to the non-public college, so not similar to Hobart and Dickinson. We do recalculate GPAs, and we do it unweighted so that, again, we level the playing field for students that attend schools that don't offer that. Here's the thing that's different for us: nursing. Again, nursing is our only direct entry program. So our deadlines are November 15th is early action. Early decision is December 1st. Regular decision is February 1st. Nursing students only have the option of the 2 early deadlines, so early action or early decision. So please keep that in mind when you're applying for the nursing program, that you would have to apply for one of those 2 deadlines. Other than that, all of our other programs, you're applying to St. Anselm College, not the specific program that you're looking at going into. Just understanding that that's the applicant pool that you fall under. Our average GPA is around a 3.3 for students. There is a large bubble around that number, but for nursing students, that bubble's a little bit tighter and it's a 3.5. So keeping that in mind as well. So for nursing, there's nothing that's required outside of what you are required to graduate from your high school for nursing. But just keeping in mind, it all depends on the applicant pool coming in. So if it's a strong applicant pool, and a lot of students have calculus as their math and AP biology or AP chem as their highest science, that's going to put you into that pool. So understanding that you do, or you should, try to do the best that you can to increase your rigor for that nursing program as you go throughout your 4 years into your senior year. just understanding that I would say at the minimum for math pre-calc, but we have taken students with Algebra 2 as their lowest math. So again, it all depends on the pool coming in, and that's unknown to students. So that's the hard part about it, is it's unknown as to what's coming into us, but it is a competitive program. We have typically 100 spots available, and it's a pretty hard deadline for that May 1st deposit deadline because of that. We tend to over-enroll in that program. And as I said before, our NCLEX pass rate is around 100% every year. Lowest might have been about 95%. So keeping that in mind, that we really work with our nursing students throughout the 4 years so that they pass that NCLEX as soon as they graduate. So one of our strongest programs on campus. And I think that's it. I think my information is kind of similar to everyone else's in terms of the process.
Great, thank you. So we're going to wrap up with in general individual questions. We asked each rep a different question to kind of give their overall view on things. So we're going to start with Kate Beyer at Hobart and William Smith to talk about finding the right fit and how do you know if a college is a good match for you?
Okay. I could talk about this for a while, but so I'm going to do an abbreviated version. So I think there are a few factors that you could start with if you're trying to figure out fit and narrow down the search. So first is location, right? So as you've heard tonight, we're all a little bit different, right? So are you looking for something more city, something a little bit more rural? Kind of environment do you think you're going to be comfortable in? Travel, right? This comes up a lot. Distance from home, kind of what are you comfortable with? Are you willing to get on a plane? Would you like to be able to drive to school? Do you want to go in-state, out-of-state? Weather, being in upstate New York, sometimes weather is a factor. So do you want to go south where it's warm? Do you want to have 4 seasons? And then that transportation, which kind of goes along with travel, with how easy is it to get places? Is it accessible? Does that matter to you? Academics, definitely. Do you want large, medium, small school? And a lot of that translates to class size too, a lot of the time, right? So are you okay in a big lecture hall with maybe a TA teaching the classes? Do you want something small like we've been talking about tonight, where the faculty teach the classes and the ratio is a little bit smaller? Does the school have your major or area of interest that you think that you are interested in, or do they have undecided options, right? Like if you're not sure what you want, are there options for you to come in undecided and take some time to figure that out? Social life. So things like, does it have Greek life? Are you interested in Greek life? Do you not want Greek life? That's a big question we get a lot of times. What kind of sports, right? We talked about the division. Some of us are in, all of us are in, right? So are you looking to play a sport in college? Can you fit into that division? Do they have club sports or intramural sports? What kind of clubs and student organizations do they have on campus? Do those align with your interests? And also just kind of what type of student is going there, and do you think you're going to vibe with that student? Are they similar, the type of student that you want to be with, which I think a lot of times is harder to achieve if you don't go to our campuses, but we would all talk with you about that. And then last, but certainly not least, cost, right? So what type of aid, well, other than what is the cost, right? But what type of aid do they offer? So we've heard a lot of us talk about merit-based aid and need-based aid. Does the school meet the need? Are they need blind or they need aware, which we don't even have time to go into all of that, but your counselors are a great resource to answer some of those questions for you. Is aid a factor in the decision process or not? But I think the one thing I want to say about costs is please don't get sticker shock, right? Some schools seem very expensive or seem like they're not achievable, but you just never know, right? You never know. 96% of our students receive aid. We're very generous with our merit scholarships. As I mentioned, we have additional scholarships too. So please explore schools and have conversations with us about that. Okay.
Thanks so much. Moving on to Julie at University of Richmond. We've heard a lot of you already talk about different decision deadlines, but if you could talk a little bit more about the different types of applications. We often get questions about what's the difference between early action and early decision, and then also about the deferral process from early to regular.
Sure. So I'll start with some of the fixed deadlines first. So those fixed deadlines are early decision, early action, and regular decision. So early decision is the binding process that you've probably heard of a little bit about so far. So binding means that when you're applying early decision to a school, you, the student, your guardian and your guidance counselor are signing a contract that says, if I'm admitted, I will be attending your school in the fall. So if you're admitted to that institution, you're withdrawing your applications at all the other universities that you have applied to. Some schools have multiple rounds of early decision. So they have early decision 1 and early decision 2. Typically, there's no difference between those rounds other than the dates. But with early decision, you're getting your application in pretty early and then hearing back early. And if you're admitted, then great, you're pretty much done with your application process, because you're, again, bound in that contract. With early action, that's a non-binding round. So you're still getting your application in early. So typically these are November deadlines, and you're hearing back early. So early action, some schools release in December, some schools release in January, but because it's non-binding, there's no contract whatsoever. You're not supposed to go to that school. You don't have to go to that school if admitted. You still can have your applications in at other schools. Some schools do restrictive early action, where you can only apply to one place early action, but have your counselors explain that one to you. That's few and far between. A lot of Ivies will do that. But again, that's typically non-binding and less pressure, but you get to hear back your decision a little bit earlier in the process. Regular decision, again, is not binding. So pretty much the same thing as early action, other than the fact that you're applying later to a later deadline, typically in January, and you're hearing back later. So usually around March or early April. Rolling admission is a type of deadline that some schools do where up until a certain date, you can submit your application at any point in their process. And instead of them reading all of the applications at once and having one set release date, they're just kind of reading applications as they come in and releasing decisions periodically. And so some schools will do that. I think a lot of schools with rolling deadlines will tell you that the earlier you get it in, the better, or they might have a priority deadline. So keep close attention to those. As far as a deferral decision, that usually comes with early rounds. So early decision and early action typically have 3 possible outcomes, which is an admit decision, a defer decision, or a deny decision. If you are deferred, you are typically deferred to be reviewed in the regular decision round. So a deferral means that you're not admitted, you're not denied, it's not a no, it's just a not right now. Typically, schools might defer a student because they just want to view them in the context of the greater pool, because by the time regular decision rolls around, they now have all the applicants. So now they can review you within the context of every possible applicant that they will have. And so now they'll have a better sense of what their pool looks like. Some schools might defer you because maybe they want to see more of your senior year grades. I mean, there's a variety of options. And so that's typically what a defer means. You can talk to each individual school about what they might want from you, but typically you don't need to jump through hoops to send them an email every week or a continued letter of interest every week or anything like that. No one wants you to jump through all these hoops. It's usually just a waiting game, unfortunately, so that they can evaluate you within the greater context.
Great, thank you. Kate Girton, speak to our 11th graders. What should they be doing right now to prepare themselves for the college search and application process?
Yeah, great question. So, I think as Kate was talking about a little bit, first step here is really just a lot of self-reflection. And I think you have to think about yourself, juniors, and keep yourself at the forefront of this process from now until you apply to schools and you make your ultimate choice where you're going to go. Think about what qualities make a college the best fit for you, because when you do that, inherently the research you're going to do And the conversations you're going to have throughout this process will highlight your authenticity, and it's going to help you eventually apply to the right schools, and the right schools for you, not the right schools because someone else you knew applied there or whatnot, or you've heard that name over and over again. You have to really think about what fit means for you. And I think Kate did a nice job kind of running through academic fit and social fit, financial fit, values, and overall fit. All of that plays a part into finding a place that's the right fit. Once you've self-reflected though, I think you've got to find a way to stay organized in this process. As you heard tonight, all of us do things differently, as similar as some of our schools can be. Deadlines are different. Merit scholarship eligibility and deadlines are different. Testing policies are different. All of these things and more differ school to school. And so as you start to narrow down the list of schools you plan to apply to as you're doing research, finding a way to keep organized. Maybe it's a spreadsheet where you keep all of this information school to school. But I would also give you a piece of advice here. And no matter how you choose to stay organized, let's say it is a spreadsheet, create one column that has something that is titled My Thoughts or something like that. Because as you do your research, you're going to have feelings about the places that you see and the conversations that you have. Things are going to start to resonate for you or not resonate for you, right? And I think you absolutely, in staying organized, have to have a space where you can keep those thoughts. You need that because eventually, as you look at schools, things are going to start to blur, and they're going to start to blur really quickly. And to remember the places and the why behind the places, you're going to be asked often in this process, probably whether it's an interview or a supplemental essay question, why XYZ college you're applying to. That will likely come up at the end of this process as you're applying to schools. What a great place to go back to and accumulate those thoughts into a statement, right? No one else but you could have written that because it was your thoughts and your feelings. But also you're going to have a solid why statement. And regardless of if you're ever asked that when you apply to schools, if you're never ever asked why you applied there, you probably should have a pretty solid why statement anyway, right? And so use that space, staying organized, to accumulate those thoughts and those feelings, because it will absolutely not only help you craft a list of schools to apply to, but it's also going to help you be able to really speak to a personal reason as to the why. There are different ways to research. There's a lot of virtual opportunities now since COVID. Many of us have hung on to virtual information sessions, virtual campus tours, different opportunities to help you engage with our schools before you even get in the car or get on a plane and come visit our campuses, right? That's kind of unique and special now. And so we want you to be able to feel confident when you do commit to coming to a visit that you've already learned a bit about us. Off-campus programming, visits to your high school. Holliston does offer all of us to come visit in the fall. Come down and meet with a college rep. College fairs, there's a college fair coming up this coming weekend nearby in Ashland. Come see the reps, meet us, have conversations. We are here to be your advocate in this process, but we're also here to be a really good resource and a really good connector for you. And so the more we get to know you, the better we can do all of those things. And there are ways to see us off campus. And then going and visiting campuses when you can. Register in advance. Engage and observe outside the admissions office. Find a seat and sit down and watch on campus. Get a feel for what it feels like. But again, at the end of all these experiences, write down your feelings. Write down those takeaways right away. It's going to help you a ton.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Erica, services on campus. What do you find is generally available to students on campus as far as academic, emotional, and health supports?
Excellent question. So campuses are going to have academic support on campus, and it's going to differ from school to school depending on what you may be looking for, but it could be professional tutors, which are staff members that are trained to be tutors and educators. You could have peer tutors, which is another student who's good in a subject area, but also if you're good in a subject area, that could be your on-campus job. So you could get paid to do that as well. There could be, something at Framingham State that we call it supplemental instruction. Other schools might call it something different, but we have identified all the really challenging courses that students have to take and that unfortunately they fail often. So rather than letting students fail, we've identified those classes and we've put different systems in place to try to help support them. So being a small institution, we do have professors that teach our classes, but bigger institutions may have graduate assistants or teachers' aides that are also leading study groups outside of the class. So we're able to do that on campus at Framingham State for some of the more challenging courses. You could also have access to academic success coaches. We know that that transition from high school to college can be very challenging, and maybe you need a little bit of help managing your class schedule, your athletic schedule, your work schedule, so you can sit down with someone one-on-one and get that support. We also have academic accommodations. So if you are on an IEP in high school, yes, you can be successful in college. Check with each college that you're interested in to find out what type of accommodations they provide and how they'd like you to request those accommodations, because schools might want to look at your IEP, or another school might say, you know what, actually, we want to see your diagnostic testing instead of the IEP. So we do offer those types of supports in terms of academic. In terms of the social emotional, it's going to vary from school to school again, but really what we're able to offer, it could be a health center, it could be mental health counseling where you can walk in and be seen on site. That's something that you can certainly ask the colleges if they provide that. We know that some students do see counselors on a regular basis. At Framingham State, we are able to provide that service on campus to students. So you could have a counselor that we connect you with, and you could be with them for one session, multiple sessions, all 4 years. If you wanted to transition your care to FSU. Something that's very popular in college campuses are also comfort dogs. So we actually had a birthday party for our comfort dog who turned a year old a few weeks ago, and he invited all of his friends. We had one from the Metro West, we had one from Harvard, and they actually have meetings where they all get together and learn about being a comfort dog, which is pretty cool. We also know that certain times of year are very stressful for students. So leading up to finals, what are different schools doing? So a lot of schools will provide seminars, about how to take care of yourself, how to make sure that you're stepping outside of your room in the classroom and really decompressing. We've even provided masseuses on campus right before finals for students free of charge. You can get a massage just to de-stress, because we do know that that social emotional piece is extremely important. We want our students to be happy and healthy living on campus. And in terms of other support services that we offer on campus, something that is a little bit different than academic and social emotional, but it kind of plays into that. We also have first generation support groups. A number of campuses do, especially with a huge increase in students who are first gen going to college, which means you're the first in your family to get a degree. And then we've also noticed, again, a number of colleges have noticed this in addition to Framingham State. Some of our students have financial insecurities, housing insecurities, and food insecurities. So we actually have a resource center on campus and a staff member that we hired full-time to really address those concerns with students, to make sure that our students aren't dropping out and falling behind simply because they couldn't find housing. We'll try to make sure that we have some funding that we can work with financial aid to get them housing on campus. Or maybe a student just truly can't afford to get that soap and that shampoo. And we have a resource center to make sure our students have access to everything that they need that you might not think about, so that they can continue to be successful in the classroom.
Wonderful, thank you. And Mary Lou, giving you the last words, some words of wisdom for students and families.
I'm going to try to keep it short. I would say breathe. Honestly, just breathe. I'm actually a mother of a senior right now going through this whole process. And I think my best advice is to not stress out too much. I would follow the guideline of keeping the spreadsheet, managing your time, and again, just breathe. Because really, we are here, that's our job. We're the admission counselors. We're here to help you out every step of the way. So just knowing that most of the schools that you're going to encounter, their admission counselors are right there with you on the kind of ins and outs of the application process, and any questions you might have along the way. Definitely reach out to us. That's what we'd like to do with families, is help them out through the application process, through the decision, through the actual enrollment. All of those things we're here to help students with and families. So I would say just kind of For the students, trying to apply as early as you possibly can, with whichever deadline you are comfortable with, just so that you sometimes can get it out of the way, so you're not trying to take your senior exams and all of that at the same time you're trying to apply to college. Common App opens August 1st. Most schools are on Common App, so it makes it easy for you to, at the very least, get started in August, whether it's with just your essay so that you can breathe a sigh of relief for that, or it's getting some of the kind of tedious things out of the way, about family background and all of that stuff, just kind of taking it step by step, not doing this mad dash, but trying to get things done so that at the end of the day, you're not stressing out about applying to colleges at the same time that you're stressing out about high school. Because again, high school is important too. Senior year is important too. I like to say that because I'm reading applications for regular decision and I'm seeing some students that are getting a little bit of senioritis. And so just making sure that you understand that senior year is important as well, that you're keeping your grades up, whether you're in CP classes or AP classes, just as long as you're trying to keep your grades up, because that deferral process that helps when you are increasing your GPA in your senior year in terms of like a good decision in the end. So just keeping all of that in mind, and knowing that we are here to help you out with anything that you need help with. Most of us, if not all of us, are readily available to help our students, whether it's on the road or it's in our offices. You can email us, you can call us. I think that's really important for families to know. And for parents, FYI, a lot of it falls on your children. So if you are interested in the schools you're applying to, I would say to the students, making sure that you are the one reaching out, because sometimes some schools will say demonstrated interest really can help a student's application. So if it's a school you really like, taking that extra time to shoot an email to the admission counselor can sometimes go a long way. So just kind of keeping that in mind as well.
Well, thank you so much. We are so grateful to all of you, our reps, for joining us tonight and providing such wonderful information to our students and families. To our students and families, thank you for joining us. We know if you attended both sessions, it was kind of a long evening. But if you have any questions, I think I speak for all the reps when I say they would be happy to have you reach out to them, and certainly reach out to your school counselor. If you have any other questions about the process, how we handle it at the high school, we'll be providing a lot of information for our juniors going forward through the rest of the school year. Thanks again, everyone, for coming tonight. We really appreciate it.